Canada just wrapped up their federal election and the Liberals are back in power, but this time with a minority government, which means they're going to have to work with somebody across the aisle to get things done. It's unlikely to be the Conservative Party, so look for some alignment between the Bloc and the NDP so they can push through their agenda. Let's talk a little bit about what this election means for the housing market in Canada, as well as give you a general state of what's going on right now across the country in the real estate market. So what did Carney and the Liberals promise about housing? Housing was a hot topic during the debate. First and foremost, Carney came out with a government mandate to add more houses. They're talking about doubling what the current production is to 500,000 new houses per year, and that being administered by the federal government. So for some context, in 2024, Canada built about 250,000 houses. For more context, we also admitted about 485,000 new immigrants. So even though we produced 250,000 houses, the number of new Canadians, if you will, almost doubled the amount of houses being built, which is why in the big cities we have a housing shortage, and that has not changed. So Carney is agreed that the government's going to go back into development and they're going to start building houses at a rate of about 500,000 a year. Look, that's going to take some time. You don't just build a house overnight. You don't even build the houses in 1 year. You want to put together a well thought out plan for developing 500,000 houses. It's going to take a few years to figure that out. What else did Carney promise? Well, he wants to make it easier for you to buy your first house. And this is what we're talking about is new houses, which are currently subject to HST. So if you're buying a new home, under $1 million, you won't have to pay the GST. That's about a 5% savings. So that's nice, but that's just a small percentage of the actual overall sales that actually happen. Because in order to get this, it has to be a new home, not a resale. And then, of course, you have to be a first-time buyer. Liberals are going to also promise to cut the red tape so builders can get shovels in the ground and start building things quicker. There's obviously a catch to that as the Liberals have a minority government, so they can't push through these type of legislation without some participation. And it'll be interesting to see what they have to trade off to get that participation from the other parties. The cost of borrowing, it's going to continue to drop. The Bank of Canada sets the key interest rates, which is currently around it is 2.75%. That's down from 4% about a year ago. I could see a couple small reductions, quarter point here, quarter point there, bring it down to about 2.25, which is really nice. I mean, when you're talking about a quarter point of interest on a $500,000 mortgage, that's $75 per month. So you can kind of extrapolate what the math looks like. If they're going to drop it another half point, that's $150 a month on a $500,000 mortgage. So that's not nothing. $150 a month times 12, that's actually adds up to some real dollars and cents out there for families that are really battling an inflationary time. And one of the reasons why the Bank of Canada won't reduce lower is because they're really monitoring that inflation. They have a checks and balances here. We've got tariffs. We might be heading into a recession as a result of these tariffs. So they want to spur the economy on with access to cheaper money, but at the same point in time, they don't want to drive inflation. And as soon as you lower interest rates too low, that spurs things on and inflation tends to get out of control. What can we expect from home prices? Well, the average home price in Canada is around $678,000, which is totally an irrelevant stat because, as we all know, real estate is hyper-local. But that $678,000 is interesting for one purpose only, and that is to review it against last year. So house prices are down about 3% year over year, but what's really concerning is not the price drop, but it's the volume drop. Volume is off considerably, about 8% year over year. There's a ton more houses on the market, about 18% more houses on the market this year to last year. But as we know, real estate is super local. I've been telling you people that for years and years and years. So if you look in Toronto, you'll find more condos for sale than buyers. And so it's really, really a buyer's market, especially in the condo market. In Alberta and Saskatchewan, it's very much a seller's market. There are more buyers out there than there are properties for sale. While BC and Toronto suffer, particularly in the city cores, condos are suffering and prices are down. What you're going to probably see for 2025 is continue to scrape along the bottom there. And if there are rate drops, that will spur things on for sure. But also we need some certainty as to where we're going with respect to these these tariffs and where the economy is going. People don't want to buy houses, put a big investment out there if they have job insecurity. So that's what you can probably expect for 2025 and moving into 2026. And of course, we have to watch things like unemployment, etc. Now, from investors, rents are still pretty high, although they've dropped 6 months in a row in Toronto. Vacancy rates are very, very low. So landlords are doing just fine. But I think that this is a really, really good time for landlords for buyers to be looking into the landlord game. If this is something that you wanted to do, add to your nest egg is an income property, this is actually a perfect time to do it because there just isn't a lot of buyer activity in the income property market, which means there's opportunities for you to find really good margins out there and not be competitive with other buyers, which is always a good thing in real estate. Remember, you can make good decisions in bad times and bad decisions in good times. When it comes to income properties, it's really about the opportunity, not really about the macro. It's about the micro. This represents a good opportunity because it pays good dividends. You should step forward no matter what time and what's going on around you. If interest rates keep falling and the economy keeps improving, then I could see prices bounce back about 5% in 2026. I mean, ultimately here in Toronto, we have a housing shortage, so things will go up. It's just a matter of getting through this uncertainty and of course the cost of borrowing. So what should buyers and sellers do? Well, if you're a buyer and you're waiting for a big price drop, you're probably not going to see it. I've said before, the price drop is already built in. We're down 20% off our highs from 2022, and I think that is going to be about the same going into 2026. So it's really about picking your opportunities, being opportunistic about what comes on the market, and the summer is the absolute best time to do that. There's a real arbitrage about buying in the summer. So reach out to me if you've got plans to either look at income properties or just, a move yourself, because the summer is going to represent a fantastic opportunity. I really believe lower interest rates will definitely help, and I think that at some point in time, the egg is going to crack with respect to these tariffs, and we will head into better times. That's all for now.